Welcome to this beautiful, beautiful sunny day. It is a gorgeous spring day, and I hope wherever you're joining us from, you at least have a view, a window that allows you an opportunity to appreciate what is taking place outside on this clear blue sky day. I want to introduce myself again as Sasha, your host for yet another session of Viva Values Seniors Mental Health. You may notice that I am smiling cheek to cheek today, or rather ear to ear, and you'll understand better why after you have an opportunity to hear our speaker today. But every time I think of her and every time I've interacted with her, I can't help but smile like this. As I said, she just makes me happy. Her energy is really positive, and I think after spending an hour with her today, you will feel very much the same way. Now, before I pass the baton over to her, just some typical duties that I always touch upon before we launch today's session. A couple of housekeeping items. You will note again that your camera and your microphones have been turned off, and we do this with intention as we are recording our session. This recorded session should be available on our website in about 10 business days or so. Today's session is going to be a little bit different in that we're really going to encourage participation to take place during the speaking session. So our speaker, Patricia, really prefers to be asked questions while she's talking on the subject. So feel free at any time throughout the conversation to type away in the chat box, ask your questions, and we will certainly address them as they come up. Now, if you struggle to type your question in the text box, if you can simply type an H and press return, that will indicate to me that you maybe need some help, and I will find you in my audience group and find a way to unmute you so you can speak directly with our speaker today. So I hope that is clear for everyone. Also, I've turned on the transcript on the lower part of your screen, so if for any reason there are audio issues, hopefully you can follow along with the transcript. So it's time to get started, and I'm really excited today because I'm obviously our presenter today is someone who is full of energy, and I think you'll just really enjoy the next hour. So Patricia Morgan, she is often referred to as the Spunky seniorpreneur, which is difficult to say, by the way, seniorpreneur. Her ability to provide bite-sized knowledge nuggets for resilience has helped many people emerge stronger after facing unthinkable challenge. Audiences describe Patricia's message as meaningfully fun, surprisingly insightful, and delightfully uplifting. Patricia has authored hundreds of articles and several books, one of which was made into a CBC documentary. She is the recipient of the Spirit of Caps Award for her contribution to the Canadian speaking industry. And joining us from one of my favorite Canadian cities, which is Calgary, on what is for her a very early morning, I would like to welcome Patricia. Patricia.
Thank you, Sasha. You read that better than I wrote it. And I want to spin off a little bit about how it's a clear day where you are. Wherever you are, I hope it is a clear day. And if it's cloudy, your smile can bring some sunshine to the day. So one of my favorite songs starts with, "On a clear day, arise and look around you, and you will see who you are." And here I am in Calgary, and I rose up this morning and I looked in the mirror to see who I am. And the word that popped up was older. Yes, so we are doing tips on resilient aging from a spunky senior. And I'm not that spunky in the morning, but get me a little bit up like now. And it's actually 9 o'clock here in Calgary. And later today, and catch me at 2 a.m. tonight, and I am incredibly spunky. So we're going to be exploring Boost Your Resilience the Viva way, and that was inspired when I met the delightful Sasha. So that whole thing about getting older, I actually belong to a group that explores ageism. And I don't know about you, but what was your defining moment when you got this sense that you were older? And how did old get to be a bad word? And when or who decided wrinkles were ugly? And who decided that 19-year-olds were going to show us what wrinkle cream could do for their face? Like, there's a lot of weirdness about aging, but I like to look at it from a realistic and perhaps an uplifting perspective. Here's a moment where silly me thought that I wanted to get older. This is the 17-year-old me. I don't know when the last time it was that you looked at your photographs, but when I look at that young girl, I know that I have wisdom and experience that I would love to tell her about, and that she didn't need to be so self-conscious about herself. So what are some of the thoughts that you have about being hopefully a spunky senior, or at least a resilient senior? Some of the other images that come to my mind is the day I got married. So this, in August, this coming August, this would be 53 years ago. Oh, can you imagine the young people that get married now when they're 21? We say, oh, honey, don't you want to wait a couple of years? You're pretty young. Well, I didn't feel particularly young back then, and was absolutely thrilled to marry my sweetheart. And we're happily married most days. Yeah. And here we are, older. Isn't he a cutie? I think he got better looking with the white hair. And then this was younger. And you may be married, or you may be a single person, but certainly most people came from a family. We all came through a mother. So we all have a mother somewhere, whether it's a bio mother or an adopted mother, or, you know, there's different kinds of mothers. Sometimes our grandparents raised us. So my hubby and I had children 3 ways. So the first one was planned, and that's Benjamin. And he became a paramedic and gifted us with 2 grandkids. The second child in our arena is Kelly, and we adopted her when she was 6. And the third child was, Les, our birth control didn't work, but we worked that out. So that's younger. And this is older at her. Well, this was in 2019, because you know what? We just don't have the family pictures since COVID. And that's kind of been a sad part of COVID, is not being able to get together with families. And so that older daughter has a little part-time job at Toys R Us in the baby department. And the firstborn, Benjamin, he has his own company, and Katie and her sweetheart, Mark, live in Amsterdam. So we're going to take a look now at some aspects for you around resilient aging. That was just a little peek of my journey in the aging journey. And V in Viva stands for the first point. If you got the little handout, you can follow along with the points of Viva, is value your body. This vintage body. I don't know about you ladies, but you know, some days I think that, as Maya Angelou said, my breasts are in a race to see which one's going to hit my knees first. Like, a lot of things are sagging, right? The skin, some of the body parts, some of the fat on the body parts. There are some bodily changes that I'm just going to explore with you quickly. And in the end, you know, I really do treasure my body more than I did when I was younger. When I was younger, I used to compare my body to other females' bodies. And I can remember when I was 30, looking at pictures of me when I got married, when I was 21, and saying, oh, I wished I'd appreciated my body when I was 21. Then when I was 40, I was looking at pictures of myself when I was 30 and saying, I wish I had appreciated my body when I was 30. And as it goes and as it goes. Well, now I try to get up with my lumps and my bumps and my sags and say, Patricia, appreciate what you got. You got up this morning, and this body is valued for what it could do. My hands may have wrinkles on them, but they are still baking and gardening, able to put on makeup, and of course, squeeze my sweetheart. So let's explore some aspects of the older body. And before we do that, a little quiz here for you. And for those who can, just put in, what I'm going to ask you to do is to put in a number. And that number would be which door. Which door is the correct answer? So this little quiz that asks, and this comes from Statistics Canada, people 65 or older who live with some kind of pain. What's the percentage? Is it 10% of the population that's 65% and older? Is it 22%? The green door is door number 2. Or is it door number 3, 35%? Just allow yourself to quizzical that and think about the people in your circle, the other elders in your circle, and think about who's in pain. And Sasha, you will report what's coming up in the chat box. What are the guesses?
Well, it's a slow start. I feel like folks are massaging their hands and their fingers warming up, but I'm starting to see the number 2 pop up. Don't be shy, audience. Please interact. Oh, we have a 3. So 2, 2, 3, 3.
There we go. There we go. Excellent. That's how to participate, is start generating your brain to say, based on my circle of friends who might be experiencing some kind of pain. And the answer is, drum roll, 35%. Now, that's incredible. So if there's 3 of you together, you and 2 friends, one of you, the chances are, has some kind of pain. Now, my husband's been living, people send me condolences. My husband's been living for 8 years. I'm now starting to put the 8 years in front of it. He's been living for 8 years with prostate cancer. He manages it very well. You don't need to send me a condolence or anything. But he at times has pain from either the treatment or the cancer itself. My sister-in-law, when she graduated from high school, went into nursing, and I'll never forget this. She was a nurse for 1 year, and then she became a librarian, and we all wanted to know, why go from nursing to being a librarian? And she said, sick people are grumpy. We thought, you went through all that training and then had to work for a year to figure that out. So yeah, I say, we need to be compassionate and kind with one another, because one of us is experiencing some kind of discomfort. This is all very useful to know. And if you are experiencing pain, if you're the 1 in 3, then let your loved ones, let your friends, let your grandchildren, let your children know, today I'm experiencing some discomfort, because too often you will put yourself at risk of being called grumpy. And my husband asked me to stop calling him grumpy. So, and one of his grandkids called him Grumps one day. And now I just say, oh, so you're in discomfort, because you don't want to get labeled like that. And if you do, look after yourself like he looked after himself. Okay, here's another good question for you. Is people 65 and plus who have vision loss. So is it door number 1, 2, or 3? What percentage of people 65 years or over have vision loss? Yeah, I mean, I never plan on wearing glasses myself, and for quite a few years I wore a contact, but contacts don't work for me anymore. So I wear glasses pretty well nonstop.
We're seeing influx of 3s come up, Patricia.
Door number 3, 88%. Yeah. Well, I won't call you pessimist if you did 88, because it's pretty close to 75%, but 75% of us do have vision loss. And if you take a look around and look at a group of seniors, most of them are wearing glasses. Now, here's an interesting one that I find fascinating, and that is hearing loss. And there's a lot of statistics about hearing loss. We're not so apt to look after our hearing loss as we are for our vision loss. So what is your guess here, people 65 years and older who have hearing loss?
Well, right now 2 is winning, but 3 is close.
Okay, well, there we get it about hearing loss. So this is the statistic that we get is 47%, close to half of us over 65 have hearing loss. After the age of 71, it is 2/3 of us, 67%. Now, I'm going to reveal something to you. You see these little babies? I've been wearing hearing aids now for close to 4 years. And I am a very interesting statistic. 88% of people who have these expensive little devices, 88% of them do not wear them. And they are putting themselves at risk for dementia, for social isolation. And by the way, it's a 30% increase of developing dementia if you have hearing loss and don't attend to it or don't wear the hearing aids. And I have friends, pardon me? I have friends who say, oh, I just put them on when I have company. That's not a good idea. We have neurons in our brains that need the stimulation of the sounds of regular conversation, or otherwise those neurons get weak and disappear, and they will not come back at our age and stage. So we need to keep the neurons in our brain that compute the sound into understanding the words and the communication that's made to us. I said to my friend Harry, you keep saying, what, pardon, what'd you say? I said, it's time you got a hearing test. And Harry replied to me, Patricia, why would I want a hairy chest? I know myself that I was saying ridiculous things. I said to my husband, Les, did you say, Pat, I love your fat? Or did you say, I love you, Pat? Another time when I went and got the hearing aids, I came home with the hearing aids. That was the first day I came home with the hearing aids. And my husband said to me, so what kind did you get? And I said, it's 11 a.m. And I had to go back and get them adjusted. Another time I was talking to my friend on the phone, and she was talking about being out in her garden. And I said, well, why would you be burying your panties? And she said, I'm not burying my panties. And I said, well, that's what you said, that you were burying your panties. And finally I figured out what she was doing was she was planting some pansies. So you'll pick up on the wrong words, the conversations. I mean, sometimes it's worth a good laugh, but I don't want you risking dementia or social isolation. People with hearing loss also back away from conversations because they miss so much. And this day and age of technology, oh my goodness. I have a little device that I hang around my neck, and I can turn the TV up or down rather than forever saying to my husband, would you please make it higher and higher? And then he's in discomfort listening to the television. I can remember when my mother and father retired from the farm, my mother designed the little bungalow that they built with a special little room for my husband, or not my fumble mouth, excuse me, for my dad. It was a little tiny room for my dad to watch TV. And so she could close the door because he played the TV so loud. And I wasn't in the clue. I was not aware of the need for him to go and get a hearing test. So don't be shy. Most audiologists, you can find an audiologist in your community that will do a hearing test for free. All right, so here we go with the I of Viva, live the Viva way. And this has to do with improve your thoughts. So how can we keep those neurons really active and have thoughts that are serving us well? So I often think about my little prop here as the self-talk prop. Oh, Patricia, your jokes didn't go over very well. Yeah, boo. I don't like that kind of self-talk. Did you know that it's estimated about 2/3 of our self-talk are negative, and we really need to savor and build on the good job, good job. You're looking fab. Yes, you're doing your best. I love my little self-talk prop. Keep your eye open at the dollar store if you want such a thing. Thoughts have gone very sideways. You probably know that mental health issues, depression, anxiety, people ruminating on thoughts, conspiracy theories have gone rampant during the time of COVID. This time has exaggerated a lot of what we call in the psychological world or the therapy world, stinking thinking. And our dear friend Sasha has agreed to help me with this little exercise. And I want you, if you've got a pen and a piece of paper, pencil doesn't, what do I call them? If you have a writing tool handy and a piece of paper, I want you to write down a thought that is not helpful, has negativity to it, might be critical. I want you to think of a thought that you've been thinking that doesn't serve you, because we're going to explore thoughts here for a couple minutes. And I did a little bit of a survey with about 95 people on a Zoom presentation fairly recently. And I have the number 5 sort of stinking thinking thoughts that have come up for that population since COVID. And those thoughts often are already still around, but the situation, the constraining, the restraining of COVID have exaggerated some of the negativity. So if you've got a thought, put it down. And I'm going to ask you to, I'm just going to show you this next one. This is what I want you to choose, either your word, choose your word, or choose one of these 5, choose your thought, not word, choose your thought, you thought it, or you've heard other people say it and you've thought to yourself, is that really a good mental health thought, right? So I'm going to just leave that up for you. So you're going to choose one thought, either your own or one of these that I did find from my little survey. So Sasha, if you will read this out loud, I'll try to get it in the center here.
I can see it. Number 1 says, I should be coping better.
Right. I should.
I am not safe to do anything because I might get infected.
Thank you.
I have no control over anything. Other people are dealing better than me.
Oh, the old comparison trap.
And I cannot take this anymore.
Oh, I've heard my friend Ethel say that one. Right. So these are considered kind of stinking thinking. If you find yourself doing the shoulding, if you shoulding on yourself, shoulding on others, should just means I don't like what you're doing. Or if you're doing masturbating, you must, you have to. And if you're doing the comparison number, what you're feeling is what you're feeling. And the I can't, I have a friend, dear friend called Alvin Law. He has no arms. Thalidomide was involved with that situation. And he does a lot of speaking around the world. And at the end of his presentation, he plays the drums and plays the piano. Yes, with his toes. And he had a keynote for many years called There's No Such Word as Can't. Many times when we say can't, we can. It's just we have decided for some reason in our head we don't want to, right? So, all right. So
Patricia, Sorry to interrupt. A question has come up and I want to address it while it's in the queue here. There's a question from a participant asking if you're familiar with Jill Hewlett. Now, I am not, so I'm assuming that that is relevant to what you're chatting about now.
Jill Hewlett?
Hewlett.
I'm going to write it down because no, I'm not familiar.
Right. Maybe.
Thank you.
Excellent. Maybe then at the end of the session, I'll do some research while you're chatting, and maybe we can address it near the end. Sorry for the
that's fantastic. I love it when there's new resources. Every time I come on and do a session or connect with people, usually I have to add one or two more authors or books to my collection.
Okay. Sorry, there's been another note. She deals with neuroplasticity.
Right. Okay. There's that is just gone on fire with us understanding the connection between mental health, our well-being, and the functioning of the brain. I'm just finished reading a book, would you believe, about the polyvagal nerve.
Yeah.
So, you know, science is really catching up with psychology, and I thought I had thorough training, and I did, but now a lot of us are being called to understand more how the brain functions. Well, thank you for that wonderful contribution. Mm-hmm. So I do have some questions for you now to consider taking that thought that's not serving you and asking yourself these three questions. The number one question is, does this thought positively serve me, my loved ones, and the world? How does it serve me? And number two is, what will be the consequence if I keep thinking this thought? What will happen? Do you really want the thought to unfold? You know, what you focus on tends to expand. I don't know if you had children, if you were a mom, that when you were pregnant, you noticed all the pregnant moms. As soon as I bought a Honda Fit, I started noticing all the Honda Fits on the road, but I didn't notice them before. So same thing happens with our thoughts. The more we focus on them, the more they take up space and attention. And the third question is, what do you want to think? What do you want to think? And so if we took a look at these 5 questions, I should be coping better. I would change that to, I'm coping the best I can. If I took number 2, I'm not safe to do anything because I might get infected, I would say, I am keeping myself as safe as I can. Number 3, I have no control over anything. I would remind myself of the 10,000 ways I have control. All the way from what I eat in the morning, how long I stay in bed, to whether I go outside, what I do outside, and including my thoughts. I have control over my thoughts, which then control my feelings, which I can choose my behaviors, my friends, I can choose my spirituality. I can choose the way I demonstrate my strengths of creativity, of helping people. Number 4, other people are dealing better than me. I don't know that. There's if I want to do the comparison game, I could find somebody, I'm pretty sure I could find somebody who's not dealing it as well and look at the statistics and say, oh my goodness, I don't think I'm in that stat ready to, you know, there's suicide is up. No, I have not had one suicidal ideation all year. I've had some tears and embracing my feelings is fine. And 5, I cannot take this anymore. Well, I'm focusing on the wrong thing. I can take being with you on Zoom. I can take more of that. I love it. And I'll show you some other ways that we've been using Zoom in this household to connect with our children, as Katie's in Amsterdam and the other 2 kids happen to be here, but we bring them all together using this wonderful technology. So watch your thoughts. And what can we do to add nourishment to our thinking processes? We can make sure that we have this term called cognitive reserve, and that is filling up our cognitive brains with stimuli that we need. Too many people, I've seen this with a lot of people in our circle that retire, they say, oh, I don't want to think anymore. I don't want to do anymore. I don't want any challenges. And they sometimes just watch TV and read novels. And there's a place for that to give the brain a rest, absolutely. But we need to stay creative, curious, and learning. I mean, we seniors are notorious for being rigid, rigid. And we've always, at that term, we've always done it that way. No, if you're not flexible, adaptable in this time and era where we've been called to be adaptable. By the way, congratulations for not being one of those seniors. I have a couple in my circle that will only talk on the phone. Oh, that technology stuff, forget it. And they forget that they're on technology. At one point, there was no phone. My grandparents didn't have a phone in the house. That's technology. So yeah, we are adaptive beings, and learning, keep learning. Two of the classics, which I participate in, the two classics that are encouraged for seniors, not only doing those Sudoku games and Scrabble and well, what's the other thing in the paper? Oh, it's gone out of my brain. And please don't say senior moment, because you know what? I've got grandkids that forget things as well. So, okay. So the two classics are learning an instrument or learning a language. And a lot of people love learning a second language, especially Spanish, when traveling was much, much easier. So 2 years ago, I took ukulele lessons. And I was going to play for you, but I'm a bit rusty. So I didn't want to put you through any torture. But next time that I do a senior presentation, I'm going to get myself all polished up with my ukulele. And I sing with my ukulele, we old folks, we ain't what we used to be. So I got creative with that old song, the old gray mare. Now you can take some of your old neurons that are in your brain, memories in your brain, and play with them to be creative. Yeah. And what else can we do to stimulate this senior brain of ours? Check your optimism, your level of optimism. So lots of research on optimism, particularly by the father of positive psychology, Martin Seligman. I had the honor of meeting him about 6 years ago when I went to the World Congress of Positive Psychology. And he's the one who studied optimism, and he found out that optimists have more friends, they have better health, they solve more problems, they take more risks, and you can get optimism. Optimism very seldom goes too far. I mean, maybe the person who's smoking the cigarette and saying this one won't kill me, this one won't kill me, might be at risk for being an optimist, but typically they live a more joyful life than the pessimist. So how do you tell whether you're an optimist or pessimist? Well, the optimist says, oh, made a mistake. Great learning opportunity. The pessimist makes a mistake and says, oh, crap, I'm stupid. Something bad happens, and the optimist says, oh, that's a fluke. That hardly ever happens. The pessimist, when it looks at a bad situation, says, see, that's the way life is, right? Little secret, my husband is on the pessimist end. Do we need him? Yes. It was the optimist who invented the plane, the airplane. It was the pessimist who invented the parachute. It was the optimist that invented the car. It was the pessimist that invented the brake. And there's a saying that goes like this. The optimist may see light where there is none, but why must the pessimist insist on blowing it out? So this is not a research little study. Oh, this one is. Your brain, this is from Sean Anker, who's actually was a student of Martin Seligman at Harvard University, Sean Anker, and he wrote The Happiness Advantage. And he concluded your brain at positive is 31% more productive than your brain at negative, neutral, or stressed. So we want to up that optimism when possible. And here's my little non-researched little quiz. I want you to, if you're in a room with somebody else, I want you to read this to them. And if you're on your own, just say it out loud to yourself. And I won't embarrass you, Sasha, by reading it out. But I find this really, really interesting. If I ask a room full of live audiences, and I've been doing this for a number of years, to read this out loud, half of the room says, wisdom is nowhere. And at the same time, another half of the room is saying, wisdom is now here. And then we all laugh. And then I say, this is not supported by any research. The point is that we look through different lenses. We look through different glasses at the world. And, you know, my hubby sometimes says to me, oh, you're such a Pollyanna. And I say, I'd rather look through rose-colored glasses than look through dark-colored glasses. I'd rather see the rainbow than only see the cloud. So optimism tends to be a choice. And how else can we nurture this wonderful organ of ours, the brain? We can have nurture it with a sense of gratefulness. And I sometimes like to say, how grateful is your great, you know? Some people that like the filling the grate just goes right through. They don't hold on to it. Whoops. I made a greeting card. Yeah, if you email me with your address, if you email me at Patricia Solutions for Resilience, I will send you a card that has this grate full. It is. It's, yeah. I made it years ago and years ago. Have you noticed, folks, how everything is years ago? Years ago, I had an amazing body. And right now I have an amazing body that's different. So grateful. I'm grateful that I have a memory, and I just wanted to play a quick little game with you here. And so again, that piece of paper and that pen, I want you to kind of keep score. So, before I do the game, I have a quick little story for you about grateful. There was an older man and an older woman. They had been married 60 years, 60 years. And it was their wedding anniversary. The old man went to the kitchen and he brought back and placed in front of his bride a plate of the crust. And the old woman began to cry. 60 years married, and on our wedding anniversary, you bring me a plate of crust? And he said, oh, my dear, 60 years married and you don't know that the crusts are my favorite? So, doesn't that break your heart, that story? We love in different ways, and I'm still discovering pieces about my husband that I really didn't understand or don't understand. So we still have lots to learn about one another, and be grateful for any acts and of gesture. And be grateful for all the people that are in the world right now that are supporting us in so many ways. I don't know about you, but my jab, boy, I had a hunk jab me. Oh, and a hunk of a nurse. I had forgotten some of the gorgeous young men that are now providing nursing. So we want to give thanks. Oh, and here's my game. I lost track where it was going to be. Here's my game. Name that TV show. This will bring up some wonderful memories for those people that lived and raised in North America. And if you are from out of the country, this is going to be a cultural experience for you. So get ready. I narrowed this down to just 7 classic TV shows that I grew up with, and give yourself a point if you guess the correct TV show. So this smart looking dressed man, what TV show was this? Just, what was the name of the TV show? So you write, just scribble it down, or you can just even put in your mind, what was that? And drum roll, the answer is the Ed Sullivan Show. There we go. And, you know, he was on television for quite a while, from 1946 to 1971. And here was a pivotal point for the Ed Sullivan Show when I was growing up. This hunk of a guy, Elvis Presley, came on the screen. And the moment he came on the screen and started gyrating, all of a sudden I had a tea towel over my head and my mother screaming, "Ah, don't look at that, don't look at that." I think I was about 17 years old and she was having a hissy fit. But my mother actually fell in love with Elvis Presley and ended up buying his records. But I'll never forget the tea towel over my head. Okay, who's this guy? The other day, Sasha actually guessed who this guy is. Many people in the world fell in love with this guy. So take your guess and drum roll. Here we go. Red Skelton. I don't know that you know the story of Red Skelton, but he had a very tragic event happen for him, where his son ended up dying. And there's even more to the story, but that's when he started painting clowns with sad faces. Very interesting biography about him. And then this was also a very big hit when I was growing up, this show. So take a guess, drum roll, give yourself a point. Oh, and by the way, if anybody unmutes or puts their hand up or puts an H in the chat room and sings the theme song, you get like 5 points for your, there's no prizes, this is just for fun. Yeah, okay, so I love Lucy. And this one, who remembers this one? This was one of my I really wasn't into cowboys. We called them cowboys and Indians, like really politically incorrect. Now we say indigenous, right? I have indigenous friends. And the theme song for the Roy Rogers TV show still is in my head. Happy trails to you until we meet again. I think I went off a little tune there. My dad struggled through the Second World War and came home with an anger management issue and very wounded emotionally, not physically, but emotionally wounded man. And I used to watch Father Knows Best, and Robert Young. I used to wish he was my dad, or that my dad would talk like Robert Young. Interestingly enough, my husband is from England and has a very gentle hand touch and a very gentle voice. Yeah. Oh, I already gave away the show. Shoot, that was silly, Patricia. Anyway, Father Knows Best. Yep, remember that? In my house, Father didn't know best, but in this household, he was gentle and kind. He gave me a different role model. Oh, wasn't this fun? I bet you're going to guess this one. And if we were alive, I would split the room in half and we would sing that theme song back and forth. Oh, I love somebody's writing in the chat room. Is that right?
That's right.
Sheila, good for you. I love that. I love that. Do you remember the theme song? MICKEYMOUSE, Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse. Remember that? Yay, yay, yay. And oh, touch my heart. Who knows this one? I'm looking here at the chat room. Okay.
Yeah, the chat's quiet on this one.
Well, yeah, quiet.
Here we go.
Oh, yeah, there we go. There we go. Cool, cool, cool. Mr. Rogers. Oh, in the neighborhood. I'm so glad that he was around for my children. What great values. Of course, we had the gentle green giant. Again, it slipped from my brain. We had our own equivalent to Mr. Rogers. That'll come back to me if I don't push it. If you have not seen either the documentary, Won't You Be My Neighbor, or the recent movie, Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood with the wonderful Tom Hanks. Please do a little effort to go and see that. It'll just touch your heart. Just touch your heart. Well, I hope you enjoyed going down memory lane with me. And we're going to move on to the next V, so we end on time. And that is to value community. And some of you are already within the Viva community, and some of you are part of the community of senior people 65 or older. And all our lives, community is important. We are hardwired for relationships. We are hardwired for connection. We wouldn't survive if we didn't have one another. And this is just a little idea to support the idea that that we have connections, that we have support. And I call this my community collage. And I took the different communities that I belong to, my Canadian Professional Speaking Organization, my Counseling and Psychotherapy Association, my women's groups. I'm a TEDx speaker coach. That's another community for me. There's my family. There are 2 women who've asked me to be their pseudo mom. One is from Ethiopia and another one, well, she had, I would call it toxic family experience, and asked me, would I be her mom, right? And Ganet from Ethiopia calls me her Canadian mom. So there's many ways to build community around us. And it's pretty amazing when I start putting all these pieces together. And right here, right, like this little group here, those are my great grands. Oh, is that ever an experience to be a great grandma? So consider making yourself your connection, your circle of connection collage. Research from the Angus Reid Institute, our Canadian Research Institute, concluded in some research around the issue of loneliness that it's important that we measure how much a person would like to be alone and how much they would like connection. And again, COVID has changed a lot of this. How do we make connection? But insisting that people have more connections, not helpful. I'm like this dog. I chase my husband around a fair bit to get my touching needs met and my conversation needs met. And he just wants to like bask in the sun with his book and kind of leave me alone a fair bit. But the other day he said to me, well, I still need attention, you know. So whether you have an introverted preference or an extroverted preference, we still need to be seen, heard, and acknowledged. I've never met anybody that doesn't benefit from being seen, heard, and acknowledged. But please honor your own need for connection and the need of others for connection. We don't insist our needs on others. And here's something we can do that also will help with our sense of human need for connection, but also the neurons in our brain. This bothers me that news anchors are still using this term, that we have to social distance. No, we don't. We need to be social as much as we can. We need to get as close as much as we can and need for our well-being. Do not use this term. Do not this is my little conspiracy theory, is to push for use the term physical distance. Yes, we are having to have physical distance. When there's a bubble, we make good use of that. So our son, I mean, my husband is, you know, obviously immune compromised with his cancer, but our son has been the whole time allowed in our home, in our bubble. And I make sure I get a hug when he arrives. And when he leaves, I say, okay, let's hug goodbye. And then he goes 2 steps down. I have this little ritual, 2 steps down from the front of the house on the porch. And I say, whoa, I need the extra. And I get the extra hug. Because this is the largest organ in the body, our skin, and it needs to be stimulated. I want you to think about what kind of connections you have for those people who are at the Viva community. I love this phrase I saw on the Viva website, making today great. And then I watched a video of some of the community members gardening. And there was a number of the members who talked into the camera about how much the community garden meant to them. And oh, a cute darling of a cook, I'll say. I'd love to hang around her. Talked about how the herbs were very, very helpful to her in cooking delicious meals. And I thought to myself, what exactly is provided for you, if you're a Viva community member, that you are looking after your needs for connection? Also saw a swimming pool at one of the facilities, and I thought, oh, Alberta, we don't have a lot of swimming pools because the temperatures here do not facilitate the need for. Most back gardens have a trampoline for kids, where a swimming pool would be in Ontario. I lived in Ontario till I was 40, and I just loved Canada, and every province is so different. But one of the basic needs of connection, as I already alluded to, is the importance of touch. And oxytocin is that connection hormone that allows us to feel connected with one another. And here's some ideas, have something like this, especially if you live alone. Pets are being adopted right, left, and center right now. But if you have allergies, pet's not going to work, but you can have kind of substitutes for touching needs. And I'll just give you a couple more ideas. I love to share a couple more ideas with you. And let's just see. There we go. This will just take a couple seconds here. Yeah. Oh, this is our grand dog. Yeah. Yeah. And I already showed you my fuzzy blanket. And here's my favorite touching need. There he is. There he is. If you have the blessing of another human being in your space, make sure you get your touching needs met. And last but not least, in Viva is add some fun, some smiles. What did I say? Fun, smiles, and laughter. Oh, I actually brought this. So yep. Ta-da! We're gonna have some fun. Woohoo! If you don't look after your fun, if you don't look after your joy, who will? If I am not for me, who will be? If I'm only for me, what's the point? So I'm just going to throw in some fun ideas. Just because we're older doesn't mean we can't be silly and fun. I had a wonderful role model of this. This is my mother. Yeah, it's an old faded picture. But each time we moved to Alberta when we were 40, and I would go back for 3 weeks, spend with my mom, sometimes longer if needed be, as she got older in Ontario. If anybody knows the sweet village of Fenelon Falls, that's where my mom and dad retired off the farm. But each time I went, my mother would say, would you please bring something for the shut-ins? Again, not a politically correct term, but we would go visit the church's shut-ins. Those were the people that were not doing well and couldn't manage to go to Sunday service. And so each time I would bring some kind of prop that we would use. And this one, I should have brought it in to show you. This one makes you lisp. And we'd go and we'd see the senior ladies and he'd say, oh, darling, you're not looking so bad. They told us you weren't feeling well, but you look really amazing. Yes, you did, doesn't she? And we'd have these little conversations with one another. And then I remember the day that I took Darlin and we said, we brought a baby to cheer you up. Yes, we did. And we had the baby talking. So I had a really good role model around easily just adding a little bit of fun to our day. And this is a very recent addition to having fun in our lives. And this is called Jackbox Party Pack. So for anybody who's got a robust computer in their home and want to collect their family. So we have a niece in England and our daughter in Amsterdam. And once a month, we spend an hour and a half to 2 hours playing hilarious games. And all the way from our 7-year-old grandson to us in our 70s are playing. The games are very family friendly. So, and a really easy way to add some pleasure to your family, to your circle, to the world is to not do this. I want you to notice what direction your body wants to go into. I want you to notice the feelings that come up when you look at these faces. And by the way, these are people I love. Do you think any kid would want to go to school if this was the group of staff at the school? Do you think anybody would question whether they're sick if they went to a hospital and these were the faces that were looking after them? Do you think that if you went for a job interview and this was the team that was interviewing you, you would question? I just want you to notice what happens to your brain when you're around this. And by the way, women smile 8 times more than men. Isn't that interesting? I think it's because when we were little girls, at least my mother used to say, now dear, put a smile on your face, but never said that to my brothers. I want you to notice the difference here. Smilers are healthier. Smilers are like better. Smilers sell more. Yeah, if you smile, you sell more. Smilers feel safer. Smiles say, I like you. And laughter says, I'm in joy with you. That's all it is. The research by a guy called Lefcraft came up with these statistics. And it was like 80% was just a message that welcomes you closer, right? It had nothing to do with telling jokes. So that's how we can brighten up the world and lighten up the world very easily, is allow ourselves to smile and laugh. And I'm going to close with one of my favorite little sayings from New Zealand, where I saw the glowworms in caves. I wish I were a glowworm. A glowworm's never glum, 'cause how can you be grumpy when the sun shines out your bum? I'll say it again if ever you want to pass it on to your grandkids. I wish I were a glowworm. A glowworm's never glum, 'cause how can you be grumpy when the sun shines out your bum? Right? So in the end, VIVA, please live the Viva way and boost your resilience.
Patricia, thank you very much. The entire presentation has been on a high and very positive, and certainly in terms of the timing of it, so relevant. But what a great way to end your presentation. Thank you very much. And I should let you know that there have been some folks that have been giving some positive feedback, feedback in the chat line, thanking you for a delightful and informative morning. So I would like to just echo that. I know we went a few minutes longer than expected, but I would like to offer the audience an opportunity to ask any questions if for any reason they were shy to ask questions during the presentations. I'll just chat for a second and watch the chat bar at the same time. For me personally, there were a lot of really great takeaways. I really like the note to pay attention to that there are 10,000 ways, 10,000 things that I can control in my life. And I thought that was really so mind-blowing when it's so obvious, but just a simple thing to consider if you're having a moment of negativity or negative talk. So I thought that was really awesome. And then, of course, I picked up some of your terms that were just so charming and quirky. Stinky thinking. I think I'm going to be using that in some of my emails. The team will likely think that's funny. I hope anyway, but I'll certainly embrace that. And, you know, just saying words like that make me smile and make me feel better. And if I can, again, bring that smile to anybody I'm emailing or anybody I'm chatting with, it's also a really contagious thing. And I hope that many of us, if not all of us, leave today's session thinking about how they can spread their smile and optimism and really embrace it as part of their day-to-day. So thank you very much. One tidbit for the men in the audience as well. Smile, smile, smile. So certainly bring the statistics up on that. So thank you again very much, Patricia. It's been a pleasure working with you. I love your spontaneity. I love your energy. And yeah, I just, on behalf of everybody, thank you so much. I hope to have you back on Viva Values Seniors Mental Health episode in the future. So enjoy Calgary and the sunshine. And yes, thank you on behalf of everyone. Before I say goodbye to everybody today, just one last moment to talk about what's up and coming in June. And forgive me, I actually have to bring some reading material in front of me. Please join us on Tuesday, June 15th at 11 a.m. again. The topic will be how essential oils can support mental health. Aromatherapy has played an important role in holistic health and wellness practices for centuries. Join our specialist, Laura, and learn how to use essential oils, or how essential oils can offer the body natural and holistic solutions. And I know she's also going to offer a giveaway, I believe, of a few different essential oils and perhaps a book. So register with your CRM, RSVP. It'll be another amazing session that I think all of you will enjoy. Yeah, I guess on behalf of everybody, Patricia and Viva Retirement Communities, have a splendid afternoon, everybody, and enjoy your lunch. Stay healthy, and we'll see you in a month. All right, everyone, take care. Be well. Bye.